Hey guys, it's me. Just wanted to give you a little video on the 2004 third gen. So that ranged from 2005 to, 2002 until 2005 was the third gen. I believe it was those years. I've got a '04. Um, on this video, I'm only speaking upon the behalf of the 4.6 liter V8. Um, so this doesn't always apply to the V6s. That's a whole other story. So without further ado, let's get into, if you're thinking about buying one, issues that you're probably going to run into if you decide to own one. So the first issue I think I remember having was something pretty small. I've had mine I bought it in June of 2008, and I still have it. So I've had mine for quite a while, and it's got 185,000 miles on it. So first issue I had was the like ABS light would blink every so often. It was just a bad ABS harness. The part was $100. So over the years, I've kept all the stuff that I've ever done to the vehicle on this paper, and I've kept the oil changes and everything else, and I've even got the filter written down. Sorry. So some other issues looking through my book. Let's see here. So they Ford has a lot of upgraded parts for these. With a lot of vehicles that happens. One of their upgraded parts is their throttle bodies. So they basically, I don't know exactly what it was, but the symptoms would be you would be at a stoplight, push down the gas, and then after it went down an inch or two or whatever, it would just abruptly just lunge, I should say, and it kept getting worse and worse over the years. And back in 2013, December 2013, I'd had enough, so I replaced it, and the gasket in the part was $700 back then. I still have the receipt. I got that from Ford parts at a dealership, and so you can usually do that on your own. It's pretty easy. That'll fix it. So that's one thing to look out for. A lot of them want to lunge, or the throttle bodies just fail internally. There's some sensors and stuff that just fail, or like little chips. I've heard of them just failing. So moving on, another one. So I'm not going to cover all the interior stuff on this video. I will cover like a couple of switches and stuff that I think are important, and that's why, because they kind of can prohibit you from driving. So another issue that they have is Ford used, I guess it was this cheap polyurethane for their sway arm bushings, and so not much after like 60, 70,000 miles, when you start going speed bumps, you could get like a real bad and that's those sway arm bushings got to be replaced. I used Moog on mine, and I did my sway arm bushings back in June 2014, and they're still good. Another one's the ball joints. Ford for these vehicles made a self-sealed, so you can't grease them, ball joints, upper and lowers, and the rear only has lowers, not uppers. And no, they only have an upper, not a lower, I think. Yeah. And so they tear, and once they tear, water eventually gets in, starts to corrode, and it damages the ball joint. And so those can kind of go out pretty quick. I wouldn't recommend using Fords. I would try to get a shop to press them out. It's easy to do. And then I use the Moog Problem Solver oversized ball joints, and they're great. I got to put another set on, but that set's like 8 or 9 years old. So I got to put another set on the fronts here pretty soon. But yeah. Parts for uppers, front upper upper front, lower and top is going to be about $150 in parts. Other things, this might not apply to everybody. Cruise control switch was replaced in June 2014. It was $55 part at 124,750 miles. So my cruise control would start acting up. It'd kind of come on, come off, come on. That switch, I believe, if I recall, is like around your brake master cylinder or something like that. It's really easy. It should throw a code. It won't necessarily be like you'll probably have to put like a code reader up to it. It might not, it doesn't throw like a dummy light, but if your cruise control starts acting up and like cutting off on you and stuff, it should throw a dormant code or a benchmark code or whatever they call them. Let's see, some other things. This probably doesn't happen to everybody, but I had a rear right axle seal seize up onto the axle. So we took out, I got a shop. I thought it was actually the rear diff gears that were like grinding together, because it sounded like if you have oversized tires on like a fender when it's like rubbing it, that's what it sounded like. Anyways, they were able to pull off the seal and didn't damage the axle. They said, do you want to do both? I said no. They said we should always do both, and I didn't, and that was around mid 2013, and now it's 2020, and that one's still good. So don't always replace both sides. Your thermostat's probably going to go on you. 119,000 miles, January 2014. My thermostat went. It threw it didn't throw a check. Well, yeah, it did. Check engine light, I think, came on, and it threw a code. You can kind of notice too, in my opinion, because you could start to see the needle kind of like go up and down. You know what I mean? Like on the heat gauge. So this one's pretty common. Hood struts, $28.47 from Ford Genuine Parts, March 2017, 106,000 miles. Those hood struts like to just completely fail, and mine had failed a good while before 2017. So you can find, replace, nudge, and do it yourself, super easy. This one happened recently at, I'll have it 17 November 2019. So this happened like 2 months ago. The rear brake light switch. So the symptoms of this, in my opinion, will be so I think it really started back in like June of last year, when I always used the parking brake a lot, and my parking brake kind of started to stay on for a while, and I think that was an indicator it was failing. Ford addressed this, and they have an upgraded Ford part. I didn't buy the upgraded Ford part because, long story short, I was on my way home before I left to work. I started vehicle. You can't, when that switch fails, you can't get it out of park. All you can do is reverse, or you can't do anything. So I couldn't get reverse to park or anything, drive. It wouldn't move out. So I ended up basically bypassing the system, jumped the wires with like whatever. I got home. I bought like a BWD switch. With those, you have to cut the wires and splice them. But it's a switch that's located on like your brake pedal itself. It's like a plunger that squeezes down like a spring, which kind of completes the system. It's a safety function. It basically says that you have brakes before you drive, and the system doesn't allow you to progress any gears if that's the issue. So that's another issue that you'll have. That part's pretty cheap, so anywhere from like 25, 35, 40 bucks, depending on how good of a part you want to get. Your coil packs will start to go bad, where your spark plugs go in, right at the top where the rubber boot meets the plastic area. What happens is they're kind of hard to get out, so unless you take off a bunch of stuff, you really have to bend them a lot to get out the plugs, replace the spark plugs, which if you're doing maintenance like you should, you're going to have to do that anyways. So what happens is they start just arcing inside the cylinder wall, and they cause a plug to foul out, throws a check engine light. It's a really easy thing to do at, on your own level. It's not too hard. You can buy those. The problem is they're kind of kind of not real expensive, but you want to pay a couple $100 to do all 8 of them. I did Pentronics flamethrowers a couple years ago, and I love it. But that's something you're going to get with the higher mileage ones, like anywhere like around 160,000 or so probably. Keep up with your fuel filters. They want you to do that. You can do them on your own. In my opinion, they're kind of pain in the ass. I've done all mine on my own, but it's always a chore. Radiator hose lines I replaced. They'll start getting pretty bad on you. Anywhere from like 100 to 110,000 miles, they'll start getting pretty soft. But so replace that. Big one. Big one that will fail on all 4.6s. It's going to happen. Is your intake manifold. What happens is where it's all plastic, and right around the thermostat housing where it sits on top of, or passages through there, it starts to have like fissures, and starts cracking and stuff. And it's a tough leak to find. You'll notice your coolant level in your reservoir will start to get lower, and the best way to kind of test it is pull it up on ramps or jack up the front, because what happens is it runs down the back of the block and it goes in between the transmission and the engine where it starts dripping out. It almost looks like a freeze plug or something might be leaking. It's a really hard leak to spot, like if you don't have a lift, in my opinion, because it's just hard to like get up in there for flashlight. But that's a big one that is going to cost you a little bit of coin if you take it to a shop, because the intake manifold, Dorman makes a really good replacement one, but that's like $300. But the nice thing is it comes with a thermostat, it comes with like seals, all that stuff. It's really nice. I went on ahead and got O-rings for my fuel injectors and all that stuff, and just put spark plugs in and everything, because you got to take off all that crap anyway, so you might as well just do it. So yeah, that's a big one that hit me, and it's one of those leaks where you can keep driving it, but it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's just going to keep going, and that's going to happen to everybody at some point. It's going to happen. That's also an upgraded part. Did Ford addressed. But anyways, that's going to be all for this video. I'm running out of camera space. There might be some more things on here. We'll talk about the timing chains and stuff like that here in the next video. Oh, real quick, wheel bearings. They're going to go out on you. They're going to go out. It's going to happen. I replaced 3. I got one more left, left rear. But wheel bearings, that's another one that's going to get you. It's going to happen. They're pretty easy to do though. So anyways, that's it, and I'll talk to you later.